Hello everyone and welcome back again to the chassis variant series. I am back in the Locust. We today are in the 7v2. Now, the 7v2 is supposed to be a version that was created by Bergen Industries again, I think roughly around about the same kind of time period, probably made like a few months after. It was probably a bit more of an experiment on the standard 7v. Now, the last video with the Magshot Gauss rifles and the Medium X Pulse Laser is Chef's Kiss in MWO. Very, very good. I can't really say the same for the 7v2. As you can see from the loadout, the 7v2 is an attempt, apparently, by Bergen Industries to have a version that is less ammo reliant. Now, the reason it's less ammo reliant is because the tabletop version of it in Universe is that it has relatively low ammo, single ton for the mag shots, so about 40 rounds. And when you factor in that it's a weapon system that in a light mech will probably get used up quite quickly, so there's 20 shots per mag shot, it means that, yes, it's going to be returning to a logistics area to get more ammo relatively quickly. So, from the designer's perspective, they go with the idea of let's have something that's completely energy reliant instead. So we have a light PPC and two ER small lasers. In theory, makes sense. On table, yeah. Light PPC doesn't do a huge amount of damage, but it does give a Locust a punch. The same punch as a medium laser, essentially, but it's got a pair of ER smalls, so I can reach out and touch things a little bit further away, and it still isn't ridiculously hot, but probably a little bit warmer than any standard Locust ever would be. Unfortunately, in MWO, this just doesn't work. The main problem is light PPCs, they fire quickly, but in MWO, it's a weapon system that has to be used in groups. A single light PPC it's akin to just gnat biting a player from medium to long range. It's not going to affect them in any meaningful way, and the two ER smalls are obviously never going to do much. Again, small lasers are something that have to be boated in at least a cluster of 4 to 5 before you're starting to see that kind of DPS really play out. Essentially, this is a build of it that in MWO terms needs to be in the middle of a brawl, and that's where it can get behind one of the other players that are being attacked by a bigger target, and it can start shooting them in the back or start targeting open areas on the mech just to try and help causing internal damage and the like. Most scenarios, though, aren't really going to allow this mech to actually reach out and touch anybody long enough to do considerate and measurable damage. It's just going to be sat there like I'm doing, just getting the shots off where I can, but obviously I'm not at optimum range, so I'm not probably doing maximum damage, factored in with things like hit detection and the host state rewind and all that. It's probably not really racking up much damage at all. So, right off the bat, there's a big problem compared to the 7 Victor. So, out of the two, I wouldn't ever really recommend trying this one out. It's probably something that, if you were like messing around, let's say you're bored in MWO, you want to try it, you want to challenge yourself, this would be an interesting challenge. You and a friend, or even a lance of friends, you all drop as a 4-man in Locust 7v2s, and your objective is to, you know, work together and get targets. Because now 4 of you all firing at the same target with light PPCs, well, that's 20 damage per shot. And, you know, your ER smalls all racking up. That starts to become a thing. Even 2 players, I mean, that's the equivalent of a nice AC-10 shot every time you're getting a hit, yeah? Well, it's working out. I think this could be this could actually work. I want to hear stories. Let's see, if any of you out there have decided to get your friends together, build a Locust 7v2 and let me know how it went for you. Like, what was your best result out of, I don't know, a handful of drops? Don't go mad with it, because it could be just as maddening as it is fun. So yeah, obviously I drop solo and all these things, so it's always going to be a bit lopsided in that regard, especially where I'm obviously a bit of a detriment on the team in this build. In the 7v, I felt like I was making a contribution, and in this one I feel like I am unable to get close enough because the map is so wide open and has such huge distances to cover that I can't really get close or get to an angle where I can harass. And I'm also stuck in a scenario where if I try to go into a fight with anyone, I'm just immediately going to get chewed up. I've already taken lots of hits from Mad Cat that I know some people will be like, why did you take hits from the Mad Cat with the lasers? I know, I was aware of it, but you know, in the game you can feel when a round is going against you. You can just tell You play any multiplayer game long enough, you can just feel it when the team is just doesn't have the energy or the momentum, and it turns on you. Or it's like if you played War Thunder or any of these any kind of team shooter like Counter-Strike or Overwatch or something like that. It's all these kind of scenarios where you can feel that you may have had some early momentum and then it's all just drained, and now it's just a case of waiting for the inevitable. That's what this felt like about midway in when the fight started. There was no movement from the team past a couple of people who went up, and the rest all stayed on the ramps, and because there wasn't any kind of push to get rid of a couple of their players early, it fell apart. That's what this felt like. Now, if it had been more aggressive and the teams had gone in, that's a commando chasing me. If the team had gone in, I might have been able to get in there and get a bit more damage. And this isn't me making excuses and saying that the other players are bad or anything. Far from it. I mean, binary lasers will cut both your legs off, no problem. But you can see the damage. It's terrible. It's just not effective enough, unfortunately. I like the idea of the build, and in universe it makes perfect sense to have a Locust that can stay at range and not have to worry about any return fire from some certain larger units that obviously aren't equipped with ranged weaponry like that. So there is that's kind of fun. And the light PVC is also kind of different to see on something like a Locust. It's a fun weapon. But in MWO, unfortunately, it just doesn't do it. But yeah, I mean, it's been fun revisiting some of the early ones with the newer tech. At least it's an opportunity to use them. God, did that just look like, to me, that just looked like he was rolling on the floor? But obviously he was just face rolling a bit of the mountainside. God, that perspective was really odd there when we switched for a second, wasn't it? Or was it just me? I think it might just be me. Anyway, I'm catching flack for the MechWarrior Lore Warrior vid from some people. They seem to think I'm a horrible person, which is kind of amusing. But yeah, that was the 7v2. Let's call this one a bit of a failure on that regard. But we'll see what the next one brings. Until then, have a good week, everybody, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.